No, I like the weather. I like the. Don't get me started with restaurants, girls, because don't get me started with restaurants because I have a lot to say. Probably better don't say.
Yeah, restaurants.
But the kosher is not food. The kosher and not food.
Rotem, I worked in a restaurant for a year of my life, and I can go ahead and say that
All right.
they're questionable.
So what do we do? We're gonna verbring today. We're gonna learn. What do we say? Verbringen. Maybe. Okay. Let's see. Let's do some attendance. Okay. Full disclaimer: my smoothie is green today because I didn't realize we have other vegetables, other fruits in the freezer. So, what's going on here? I'm trying to find my name here. Here we go. Okay. Rivka, are you here, Rivka? No. Rotem, you were with us last week.
Yeah.
Malka Levana is here. Michal,
Here.
you're here. Maya. Anybody? Maya's here. Okay, I'm just gonna mark it. Rotem is here. Devora Namdar is here. Shayna is here. Shayna? No. If Kashira is here, if your sister is here as well. Rachel's here. Sofigula is here. Sarah. Okay, and Devora. She's absent. Sharonel is here. You're here. And then Rachel Simcha.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Chava. You're here. Okay, wonderful. And anybody on Zoom? I don't know, but welcome if you're here. Okay, let's we can fabring a little bit, but let me at least open the safe first. I won't feel so guilty. Okay, so just you know what? I'll speak for 5 minutes and we can fabring a little bit. But the next subject, just let me introduce the subject. Is about Tevilas Kalim. Tevilas Kalim is a very interesting topic because it's related to food, but it's not food. It's all about vessels, about equipment, about utensils. So what we find is that in Torah and Jewish law and the laws of kashrus, the laws of kashrus extend beyond food. The vessels we use to prepare food have to be kosher. And in this case, the vessels that we use to prepare food have to be toiveled if they were owned by a non-Jew previously. So there's a halacha that just like a convert is going to go through a process to be ushered into the Jewish nation to get their soul, so too a vessel, because it's being used for food prep, has to I guess you would say achieve a certain state of holiness, sanctity and purity to be able to be used. Now, obviously, we don't have to toivel things like our our workbench saw, our screwdrivers, or our hammers, because those are not what's called klei suda. Those are not vessels that are designed to be used in a food prep environment. But vessels that we use in a food prep environment would need tefillah. So, for example, scissors don't need tefillah. However, if you use scissors as chicken scissors to cut off the fat, to trim the chicken, then they probably would need tefillah. Okay, there's a whole discussion about a sheikhet's knife. It's not really used in food prep. It's just a way of making the meat kosher, but you don't actually use it in the kitchen, so to speak. So maybe that doesn't require it. It's a little bit, there's a discussion about that. But anyway, and only certain types of materials are subject to the laws of Tevilas Kalim. For the most part, it's metal and glass and their derivatives. Wood does not require Tevilas Kalim. So a wooden salad bowl does not have to be toiveled. And stoneware, earthenware does not have to be toiveled either. But some things are glazed with glass, so then you toivel them maybe without a bracha, etc. So that's kind of the general, the shmooze, if you will, the general outline. And now we're going to fabrik. It's Shabbos Mevorchim Chodesh Adar, the Simcha. The Rebbe actually says a geshmak about. I remember when I was a bacher, so there was it was an Ibra year, it was a leap year, so there were 2 others. The Rebbe would say 2 others make 60 days. The Rebbe says that all the bad of the world will be bottled with shishim. Because others is all about simcha. So through simcha, we're going to be mavacha. We can nullify all the negative elements in the world. Anyway, okay. So let's talk about restaurants. So restaurants, first of all, what? Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Don't worry, it's all gonna be good. Now, so first of all, I want to just use the time to illuminate and to kind of open our minds up what goes on. In a restaurant environment, it's very different than a food manufacturing environment. A food manufacturer, let's say they produce veggie burgers, and they have one that's called roasted corn, another one's called sweet chili. Those two products have a distinct recipe, a distinct mouthfeel, distinct flavor, distinct taste profile that they want to achieve every time they make it. So there's a very much a steady kind of dynamic at play, right? They make sure they have the right ingredients, the right portions, the right mixing going on, and the right timing and all that. So all comes into play to make sure it's done right. In a restaurant, it's a very fluid environment. It's just the opposite. It's a fluid environment. You got a chef. Next month, you got another chef. They decide they want to, dice up the recipes. They could. They're the chef. So because it's such a fluid environment and ingredients are coming all the time, constantly. You're buying ingredients. You run out of ingredients. You're buying ingredients. It's much different. You don't have an inherent level of stability that you have in a manufacturing environment. So as a result of that, you must have a shomer Shabbos, at least, on the premises of a restaurant. There has to be a from person there to make sure that the food is going to be bishul yisrael, the ingredients coming in are kosher, they're not mixing up the fish and the meat, whatever it is they have to look out for, which is the whole myriad of things they have to watch out for. But the dynamics are fast-paced and fast-moving in a restaurant environment. Fast-moving also. Now, if you find a restaurant owner who is their own mashgiach, who's there all the time, and who's very, very earnest, God-fearing Jew or Jewess, and they're dedicated, they're devoted, good, very nice. They have a decent hashgacha, it's all good.
How can we know that?
One second. I'll tell you how to know that soon. First, I want to tell you what you have to know, then you figure out how to know. You know what I mean? That's like you have a good base to start with. In general, I recommend, we're in the tri-state area, even in Florida, this is true. There are plenty of restaurants that are owned by Jewish people, religious people, plenty, probably 50% or more. It's always better to eat in a restaurant that's owned by a shomer Shabbos. Now, National Hechsher will certify restaurants that are owned by non-Jews. They'll have a mashgiach tamidi. They can do it, but is it as recommended as a restaurant owned by a religious person? No, it's not the same. You can't kid yourself. It's not the same. So we as Hasidim, we can look for a bit of a higher standard. Midas HaChasidus, try to find a restaurant that's owned by a shomer Shabbos. That's always a good start. And a person who is an upstanding person. They don't have to be Hasidim. They could be. Sometimes you have they could just be regular religious Jews. Some of them could be even a bit modern, but they're earnest people. And if they have a good hashgacha, that's a good starting point. Now, you want to find out what the hechsher is certifying. Make sure that the restaurant, for example, is all Chol Yisrael, whatever is being certified. Because some restaurants are not Chol Yisrael. That's obviously not for us, clearly. Where it starts to get a little bit, I would call it dicey, a little bit challenging, a little sketchy. I'm very careful with my words today. Is when you have a situation where the restaurant is owned by a non-Jew or a non-religious Jew, and they have a mashgiach tamidi, and then you meet the mashgiach, they look like they're out to lunch, they're like whatever, they don't impress you. You have questions, they don't know the answer, they're kind of, they're stumbling, they're not sure what to do. Or you find a mashgiach who's like a little kid. I don't mean a little kid, like a 5-year-old, but find a mashgiach who's like 17-year-old kid. Officially, a mashgiach has to be at least 18 years old. But sometimes you find mashgiachim that they're just kids, they're kids. We're all kids in one day.
What if they're a kid who's like very...
What I'm saying is when they're a kid, they're not, there's nothing wrong with being a kid. We're all kids at one point. But when you're a kid, they don't have that same sense of responsibility, of authority that you need to have as a mashgiach. When I was a kid, I did something very dangerous. I'm gonna say it publicly. It's the first time I'm saying it publicly, but it happened. I did it in Florida. I never told this to my children, and don't tell it to my children, please. Those of you on Zoom, make sure not to repeat this. You know, when you're with a bunch of kids, there's a certain kind of peer pressure. So we had this as a summer program. We had this car, and we had this like it was like a U-Haul rental kind of thing in the back attached to the car. It was like a flatbed U-Haul attached to the car. I don't know. We were using it to carry things. It's meant to carry luggage, whatever, to move things. We decided we're going to ride in it. You're not supposed to ride in that. There's no seat belts. You're sitting in a little box. It's like riding in the back of a pickup truck, but worse. But it's just attached by a chain or something. We did. Stupid stuff. Thank God. We all lived to tell the tale. It was driving 45 miles an hour. Then some kids were like standing on the side. Just kind of, anyway, thank God we lived to tell the tale. But I was a kid then. I was 17 years old. I would never do that once I would have gotten 20 or older. Because your sense of responsibility, and I'm telling you the story to L'Tayelas, for a purpose. The sense of responsibility is different. So you send a 17-year-old kid or an 18-year-old kid to be a mashgiach in a restaurant, unless some kids are very mature. It's possible, but generally speaking, it's not the right fit. And I've seen mashgichim, and I'm not saying which hashkachas. I've seen mashgichim that they're just like little kids basically, and I wouldn't trust. I wouldn't entrust them with major responsibilities. So anyway, that's an issue. So that's why I always recommend try and find a restaurant that's owned by a Shomer Shabbos, run by a Shomer Shabbos. So when it comes to milchiks, it's all Chov Yisrael. You know them. You can ask them some questions. Which year are you using? You're good to go. Make sure everything is Pas Yisrael. Don't assume. And then also realize that some places that you go to, they don't always have the same availability that they have in other places. So, for example, tuna fish. The OU is lenient and doesn't require mashgiach tamidi with their tuna fish. So most of the restaurants outside the tri-state area that are certified will use non-Bishul Yisrael tuna fish. Even ones in this area under the OU or under the Kafke will allow non-Bishul Yisrael tuna fish. So don't assume that I'm getting a tuna sandwich that is Bishul Yisrael tuna fish. It's probably not, if it's an OU or a Kafke restaurant. Other Echshem will only allow Bishul Yisrael tuna fish. That's our policy. Some other Chassidish Echshem, I'm sure, have that policy as well. But you go to Florida, it's almost impossible to find a restaurant that serves Bishul Yisrael tuna fish. We have 2 restaurants there. One of them is a fancy one. I don't even think they serve tuna fish. The other one's like a breakfast place. So tuna fish doesn't come into play there, as far as I know. But if you're going to another restaurant, there could be a reliable hashkacha, but their policy, their standards are not our standards. So you have to be, as a consumer, we have to be aware. Oh, this is not for me. Just like if you're going shopping for boots, because we're gonna expecting a snowstorm on Shabbos, you're not going to go buy slippers. It's not the right fit. There's nothing wrong with the slippers, but this standard is different. This is not the right level of protection. Anyway, need I say more, or is that enough? I want you people to go to eat. I think I'll stop here. Ask us today. Okay, we're stopping here. I gotta tell you a joke. I'll stop. So there's a guy. Someone walks into a restaurant, and the proprietor, the owner of the restaurant, is not religious. But he's got a picture of his grandfather, a long white beard, chassid, He said behind the counter, he said, "You can eat here. You can eat here." Well, how can you? It's no hechsher. He's not religious. This man was my grandfather. He was a holy man. So the guy says to him, "If I saw your grandfather standing behind the counter, it's your picture on the wall, I'd eat here, but not the other way around." Anyway, okay, take out the Svarim, page Tzadik. Someone want to get the Svarim? You have the Svarim?
Yeah.
Okay, let's learn. Okay. Wasn't so bad, what, tonight? Not so bad? Not so bad, right? Baruch Hashem. Okay.
In Israel is the worst.
Depends in Israel. You have to know where you're going. Now, let me just explain. It doesn't mean these restaurants that are a little bit weak, they're not like they're serving pork, chas v'shalom. But the standard is low. And there's between what's considered a high standard and bare minimum standard is a very, very big gap. So we have to just be aware. Someone asked me about a restaurant yesterday. It has a hechsher. They serve meat. There's no mashgiach tamidi. It's got a Jewish partner, a non-Jewish partner. I think the Jewish partner is religious, I'm not sure, but he's not there all the time. And the hechsher is watching things through a video camera, video surveillance. That's like, you know what that's like?
Trade.
Like leaving crown jewels worth $1 million in the hands of people that are not honest and saying, I'm watching them by video. I'm checking on them. No, you're not checking on them. It's impossible. In a restaurant, a video only helps to some degree. You can see if people are having a fist fight, chas v'sholem. You can see if someone's kind of being a little, but to see what's going on in the little, the finer things, you can't tell. When they bring a box of stuff in covered, you don't know what's going on inside that box. And it's happened, by the way. And some of the tricks of people that are not honest, they take old packaging of things that's approved, like a box of meat. They'll take an old box, they'll save it, they'll repack that stuff and stuff that's not approved in some other location. They'll come back with sealed boxes, and it looks, optically looks beautiful on a camera. When I grew up in Boston, they used to give a hechsher on a meat restaurant that also had through video. Or in those days, I don't know if they had video, but the mashgiach would come in 4 times a day. Nobody ate there because you can't give hechsher like that. Anyway, okay, yeah.
I worked in a cafe with all the ingredients were provided by the owner, and he would leave. So the only people there were the workers, and then the mashgiach would come in once, twice randomly a week. But it was all the ingredients were just given to us, and we didn't bring anything in.
And did you do any cooking there?
Yeah.
So how'd you make sure Bishul Yisrael? Who was the
Well, all the workers were Jewish.
Not religious, they were Jewish. Okay.
Like,
Was it
some half religious.
was it a Chol Yisrael or not
Yeah,
Chol Yisrael?
all Israel.
Sometimes that could be done, but it has to be set up very carefully.
Yeah.
It's not impossible, but depends. The environment has to be monitored very carefully. I was at a bagel place. It was Chol Yisrael out of town, and it's hard to get from person all the time. Whether this is a non-Jewish bagel place, the mashgiach goes in 4 times a day, and they're serving Chol Yisrael cream cheese. There's no cooking going on. The bagels are kosher, so they can do it. There are times when it could be done, but you have to just be aware of the sensitivities and make sure it's very well controlled. In this area, we always have a mashgiach. It could be a working mashgiach also. I like working mashgiachim because they're very involved. If you worked in a restaurant, you can appreciate what I'm saying. If you're very involved, you know the workings, you know what's going on. If you're just sitting there and reading a book, they can pull things by you. Okay. Let's learn some halacha.
Oh, what do you say about a funeral mashgiach?
A what?
A funeral mashgiach.
They're very good mashgichim. They're very good mashgichim. They're very detail oriented. We use female mashgichim. The only time we shy away from it is sometimes in factories. If we need a mashgiach tamidi, some factories it's mostly an all-male environment because there's a lot of heavy lifting and stuff. Then it's not really tzniistic. But a female is going to be, let's say, mashgicha in a restaurant. There's a lot of female workers. It's fine. It's very good. It's totally fine. So it depends on as long as the environment is conducive to that. Sometimes we need female mashgichim also. We also use female mashgichim like in when they do Chol Yisrael milking, because they'll have usually a husband and wife team, and they'll each do their own, the shifts of covering the milking and watching everything going on. That's also a very good arrangement. If they want to lead a quiet life, I should say. It's a quiet life. No politics with the cows. Okay. Perek Shvi. Hilchos Tevilas Kelim Kishem Shevdilonu Hashem Yisbarach L'Kedushos B'Muzanim. So just like Hashem said, okay, Jewish people, you're holy. I'm separating you. So you're having making sure that you have kosher food. He said that non-kosher food is not allowed to consume because it defiles our soul. Only food that's befitting a holy nation is allowed to be consumed. So too God has commanded us. So also the vessels that we use to prepare the food, they need an elevated level of holiness. They're holy. It's amazing. It just gives you an insight of how delicate and how sensitive, how special the Torah looks at everything. Our vessels are holy. Setting up a Jewish home is holy. If you buy a vessel from a Nachri, a non-Jew, needs tevilah in order to be able to be ushered into the holiness of the Jewish nation. Similar to a ger, a convert who goes to the mikveh. Now we're going to quote from the Parsha of Klei Midyan when the Jews had the loot from the war of Midyan, and it also mentions various types of vessels that they then inherited. So it's going to serve as a basis for these halachas. Elazar, the Kohen, the priest, said to the men of the army, the Habarim Macham that came from wars, this is the statute of the Torah, Asher Tziva Hashem Esmesh, that God commanded Moshe. Achazazav, the gold, it's a kesef, the silver, it's a nachoshes, the copper. It's a barzal, the iron, it's a bedil, the tin, it's a yiphoris in the lead. Anything that comes in contact with fire, you purge with fire. This is talking about kashering, the laws of kashering, and it says the word b'toher, and you purify it. It's referring to it has to be purified with the sprinkling of a mikvah water. Whatever does not come into contact with fire, you kosherize with water. So there's two things that are being discussed at the same time. Number one is discussing the laws of kashering, like the like-to-like principle, which means it gets absorbed with fire, we purge with fire. It gets absorbed with water, we purge with water. And it's also discussing the principle of vitara, bringing tara onto vessels. This is the hint to that, and we're going to expound on this in a moment. I just want to share with you a sikha of the Rebbe.
You said sprinkled water, not
The-
open water.
It's referring to the water that they used to sprinkle for the para aduma. It was mikvah water. So it was used as sprinkling, but it's also a tara. It's referring to mikvah. We're going to learn later on the next two paragraphs. It's going to explain how it's derived. It's not explicitly stated. You're correct, but it's derived. I want to share with you a little bit of a good of a sikha of the Rebbe. I think this was said in the 50s when the Rebbe would send people out, see them in the beginning, shlichus all over the world. So many people said to the Rebbe, how could you send your Hasidim to barren lands, spiritual wastelands, there's all kinds of dangers lurking around. So the Rebbe quoted a principle from the laws of kashering to explain and defend his position. The Rebbe said that just like when it comes to kashering, we say that if something gets absorbed with water, it gets purged with water. And while it's purging with water, it's not going to absorb back the water. Because there's a principle that says, I did the Torah liflate. It's busy. If it's busy spitting out, it's not going to absorb. The Rebbe says, same thing with my Hasidim. I'm sending them on shlichus. They're busy spitting out. They're busy giving hashpah. They're giving chasidus, Torah, spreading light. Then they're not affected by their surroundings. A chasid is a lamtenishka. A chasid is meant to give light in the surroundings. So we as chasidim, but the lesson is that when we give light and spread off and consistently, we consistently give off hashpah and give light into the world, we're not affected by the world around us. So I just want to give you an insight that everything in the Torah has its spiritual counterpart. The laws of kashering, which are physical laws about what we need and do and not do, it's giving us a glimpse into the spiritual meaning behind them also, from the Sikha of the Rebbe. And the Rebbe has a lot of sikhas where the Rebbe weaves these two concepts together and shows you. It's just incredible. I mean, it's brilliant, but it's the depths of the Torah. Show you how Nigla and Chassidus is all one. Anyway, let's learn inside. So the vessels that the Midianites used for their food after the Jews had the spoils from the war were not usable by the Jewish people for three distinct reasons. Let's enumerate the reasons. They were used to cook non-kosher food. If you're going to use them now for kosher food, the vessels are going to spit out the flavor, the non-kosher flavor into the kosher food, and it's going to render the kosher food not kosher. Problem number one. The second reason, the vessels became defiled because people died. Tumas mes. Now today, everyone is tamei. We don't do anything about that, so to speak. The third reason is any vessel that's used by a Jew, that came from a non-Jew, is not befitting to be used unless it's toiveled first. And the word v'toher in the psukim, I'm answering your question, the word v'toher is a direct hint to the idea of tahara. Okay? Mikvah tahara, immersion in the mikvah. By the paraduma, it says clearly you have to sprinkle the waters on them. But this is v'toher, it has to become pure. Now, Halacha Gimel, he says, he amplifies further. Anything that comes in contact with fire, you have to purge with fire. That's the way of kashering the vessel from something that gets absorbed in it. This says v'toher. The Chachamim derived that besides the fact that we have to purge it with fire, the vessel has to go through another purification process. That's the immersion in the water to make it ready to be used for our holy nations.
Wait, if you kosher something with fire, do you have to also toivel it, or is it just okay?
No, if you koshered something with fire that was owned by a Jew that became treif, you don't have to toivel it afterwards. If you got something that was not kosher and owned by a non-Jew, you have to kosher and toivel it.
You have to kosher and toivel.
Yes. This is talking about tumas mes. The sprinkling was referring to the tumas mes, was the sprinkling of the water, the ashes of the paraduma. That's also called meinida. This answers your question. I'm so again explaining more clearly. Here it's also a hint, not a direct statement, but a hint towards the mitzvah of tefillas kelim. And the measurement, the body of measurement of water is you have to have 40 saw to be able to immerse the vessel. That's why you need to make a mikvah kosher. Now I want to share with you another sikha of the Rebbe. We're farbrengen today, so I'm going to see this. The Rebbe has a sikha. I believe it's Yutes Kislev, Tafshin Yud or Yud Aleph. And it's a very geschmack sikha. The Rebbe explains the difference between a mikvah and a mayon, a pichasidus. A mikvah is a body of water that's man-made that contains 40 saw, enough water for a person to be able to, for their body to be able to be immersed in. And of course, made according to the prescribed delicate laws of halacha. But a mayon is a wellspring attached to an ever-flowing sense of water. And the halacha is that a wellspring does not have to have 40 saw. If I have a vessel that I have to toivel, if I toivel into a wellspring, even if it's less than 40 saw, because it's attached to the life spring, it's metar b'chol shu, as long as it envelops whatever it's toiveling. And the Rebbe then takes these two concepts and applies them to Torah. I mean, it's Torah anyways, but it applies it to Nigla and Hasidus. Rebbe says when it comes to the learning of Nigla, the revealed parts of the Torah, it's analogous to the mikvah. To be able to achieve tahara, to be able to achieve purity, we have to learn so much Nigla of Torah till it's Ibidim cup, till it's over our head, till we're totally immersed in Nigla Torah, and then we're going to have Tahara in our thinking, in our whole persona, in our whole view of life. The Rebbe told a Rav that I know, he said to him, you should learn Nigla bis Ibidim cup, learn it over your head, because it's the idea of Tahara. When it comes to Chassidus, it's a mayon is metar b'chol shehu. Just a little bit getting into the system, as long as it envelops the vessel, it brings tahara. Because Chassidus, the likus is b'hisgalos, it's revealed. It's not enclosed in physical matters. That you have to sort of have so much of it to be able to feel that. And the Rambam has a fascinating expression he used at the end of the laws of mikvois. He says that it's not just about physical purity that we have to go through by immersing in a mikvah, but we also have to have taras, the sakiness. I think the lashon is we have to. I don't remember the exact lashon. I'm sorry. I remember where it is in the Rambam. It's a long halacha. He says we have to have tara from the me'adas haTorah. We have to have me'adas haTorah, which means the waters of knowledge, the pure waters of knowledge. Meaning to say we have to immerse ourselves in holiness to purify our thinking and how we look at things. That's also why, by the way, Judaism is not a religion. It's a way of life. Because the Torah teaches us and infuses meaning in everything that we do. So when you go on Miftzoyim, they say, I don't believe in organized religion. You say to them, believe me, Chabad is not organized. It's not a religion either. It's a way of life. That's what we used to say as Bachman. Trust me, we're not organized. Anyway, but that's it's Gishmak. You see the Arum, right? You see all sides of the. That's what Jewish life.
Jewish life is what messy. Jewish life is messy. Is balagan?
It's a balagan. Sometimes it could be. It depends. Doesn't have to be, but it could be. I'll tell you a story. My father, when he came to the Rebbe in the 1960s, like 62, 63, my father was a college grad, a scientist, a very organized person. I mean, he was a creative thinker. So the Rebbe asked him for feedback on what's happening because he was like one of the poster boys, the new Bali Chuvas come to Lubavitch, whole new movement. He was one of the first ones. And my father was very blunt to the Rebbe, very blunt. He spoke open. So he would tell the Rebbe about it. He said, this is disorganized. I think if you want to attract more students, you got to, 7-7's got to get nicer, whatever, different things. And then my father told the Rebbe about Tzach. Tzach is an organization, Tziragos Chabad, that deals with outreach. So my father told the Rebbe about all the problems within the organization. And the Rebbe said to my father, in this pronunciation, I heard of my father numerous times, so I'm reliving the moment. We need constructive criticism. So the Rebbe didn't dispute it, didn't dismiss the fact that these were real issues. The Rebbe just said, I need constructive criticism to actually. So you're asking, is it organized? So it's a work in progress. It's a movement, Being the world now, Lubavitch is much more organized than it used to be many years ago. It's a whole different world today. It's super organized. In fact, the young Lubavitchers are like on a whole different. But even the Chassidim of old, I'm saying the ones from 1 or 2 generations ago, they weren't organized, but they had so much spirit. They would turn over the world, even not being organized. And people that didn't know them thought they were loaded with money. I'll tell you a story about that in a moment also. Let me learn one more halacha and I'll tell you the story. Even though the laws of Tvilas Kelim was written in the Parsha of Kasher and Kelim, it's not dependent on kashering the vessels. Even brand new vessels that are bought from a non-Jew, they were never used. They also need tefillah min Torah because it's about creating an element of holiness into the vessel. When I was a kid, I had a classmate. I was 13 years old at the time, 12, I don't remember exactly, and he was not a Lubavitcher, a Litvisher boy. We grew up in a small school. Good friend of mine, and he was convinced that Lubavitch has tons of money because they're constantly opening up those centers to doing things. I know what to tell. I came home that night. My father, I said, I got stuck. I didn't know what to tell my friend. By dinner, I remember we had a round dinner table, like a kitchen table. So I told my father, I said, my friend is convinced that Lubavitch has tons of money. My father gets serious. He says, just the opposite. It's because Lubavitch does not have money. That's why they're so successful. I look at my father, what are you talking about? He says, because they have ruchnius, they have spirituality. That's what's driving them. He's just like, he nailed it. Anyway, that's what he said. It's funny, but it's true. It's powerful. And the Fiat Rebbe said that an organization that has money is not doing their job. They have to constantly be doing things. So it's a sign of life. Anyway, Baruch Hashem. I grew up in Boston. There's a chassid there. He's still alive. He's an older person already. Mamish, he lived in a different world. He did a lot for the Rebbe. He gathered kids for chinuch, and he did. So it wasn't the most organized fellow you'll find, but his spirit and his devotion was incredible. I do have to leave a bit early today. I have a meeting, so I'm gonna just leave now. I'm sorry. That's my alarm ticking. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Don't tell him. Tell stories.
Can I ask you a question?
You could, but I gotta hurry. So.
With the glass.